Thank you very much for taking time on a Sunday morning and coming here for a very auspicious, beautiful event. The event of welcoming Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought, normally what we do in this program is we speak about the importance of first keeping Srimad Bhagavatam in home. Because one big challenge which people always have is even to take Bhagavad Gita, if I take, I won't read. How many of you have used that excuse before for saying no to taking Bhagavad Gita? Me too. We always say that, right? If I take it, I won't read it. Once I was distributing Bhagavad Gita in town hall, just outside town hall station. There was one guy going, I stopped. Oh, if I take it, I won't read it. I just repeated exactly same line what he told me back to him. And he took the book. He said, if I take it, I won't read it. I told him, if you don't take it, you won't read it. Yeah, if I don't take it, then I cannot read this. Okay, how much is it? So many times people say, even without knowing what they're actually saying, without meaning. Okay, how are you doing? Once Prabhupada, he was actually sick. And then Prabhupada told, stop bringing in guests. Because everyone is wasting me so much time. And they come and ask, how are you, Swamiji? Everyone knows I'm not good. I'm not feeling good. So, reason why I'm saying is, many times we have that mental block. If I have one book I won't read, those many books. First time when I went to temple, not like first time, in North Sydney temple, maybe second or third time. So there was one receptionist, this is in 2005-06. There was one receptionist, one Mataji was there, I was walking in. And she waved, I also waved. I said, Hare Krishna, and I was moving. Then she asked me, do you know Bhagavad Gita? And I told her proudly, I know Bhagavad Gita. I have read, I come from India. And then she said, you have read Bhagavad Gita? I said, more proud, yes, I have read Bhagavad Gita. Then she said, okay, come, I have got something for which you are the best candidate. This is only for those who have read Bhagavad Gita. I told her, I know Bhagavad Gita for not buying Bhagavad Gita. But she used that to qualify me, at least that's how she wanted me to believe, to give me a whole set, and she gave me a whole box. Then I held it, I came back to my room. I was living in North Sydney. Then my roommate looked at me, looked at the box of books, and he said, this is it, you have become now full on Hare Krishna. And now how long are you going to read? Trust me, to read this one whole set of books, just this first book itself. When that Mataji gave me the set, sold me the set, she told me this has got only stories. Then I opened the first pop-up, read, it went page after page after page. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om, then Namo, then Bhagavate. There's like a lot of pop-ups, but no story. And I was wondering, where is the story? Then I looked for the pictures, then I went to one section. Okay, here, Prahlad Maharaj story. Then I've seen the narration, the way how it is done in this book is, story, they say in fast forward mode, philosophy, they do in very slow motion mode. So, story, you would think, there will be a lot of elaboration, lot of details, we can sit, we can read very peacefully, like a story book, Harry Potter book. But actually stories are there, but this book is more than just a story book. Okay, so today I will first give you a bit of a background about how the author himself, who wrote this book? Vyasadeva. Okay, so Veda Vyasa, as we say. So he wrote this book. So today I'll tell you a bit of background about how he came to write this book. What was the inspiration for him to write this book? So there are 4 Vedas altogether. Anyone knows the name? One of them at least? Yes? Rig Veda. Anyone else? And? Wonderful. Initially, when Lord Brahma sat in meditation, at that time Krishna, seated from within his heart, he inspired him. Krishna doesn't have to speak, he plays flute. But that flute is enough, that sound of the flute is enough to infuse the knowledge in the heart of Lord Brahma. And Brahma has got how many faces? How many mouths? 4. So, through one mouth, he started to recite Rig Veda, another one Yajur, another one Sama, 4th one Atharva. 4 Vedas. But each one of these Vedic sound vibrations, you visualize that as like a like a pack of jewels, a same colored jewels. Let's say through one mouth, there's like valuable jewels coming which are like red stones. Another one blue color stones. Another one green. Another one yellow. All of those jewels came together, piled up as one single mound, one single mountain. And this is how this whole body of knowledge was given from Brahma to Narada to Vyasa. That whole parampara, that's how it was. So until the start, or rather until the end of Dwapara Yuga, until the onset of Kali Yuga, this whole body of knowledge was mastered altogether as one single entity only. There was no separate. I think the insect also wants to hear. So, until that point, it was all one single blob, so to speak. Okay, so then Vyasadeva, at the onset of Kali Yuga, when he meditated on the plight of people in this day and age, which is us, he could appreciate the glorious qualities which we are all endowed with. Prayana alpayusha shabya kalavasmin yuge janaha manda sumanda mataya manda bhagya hi upadritaha. People in Kali Yuga, Ayusha means what? Lifeline, lifetime, lifespan. Alpa means?
Small.
Alpayusha means?
Less life.
Very less life. I was living in Mayapur, that's where ISKCON headquarters is. They have like huge dining halls. And they have like a huge trolley on which they carry the food troughs and they just serve. You learn this word, you will thank me if you go there. You have to say, by the time they come, very far, you have to say Alpa. Otherwise, at the blink of your eyes, you will have like, whole bowl full of food in your plate actually. You have to say Alpa. So Alpa means very less. Alpayusa means very less time only we live. Okay, so in Kali Yuga, Prayana Alpayusha Sabhya. So which means the Ayusha or the life time will be very, very small. Kalavasmini Yuge Janaha Manda. Manda means what?
Speed.
Less paid, lethargic. There is one name of Mother Ganga by name Mandakini. What does it mean? You said, what's the...
Slow. Less speed. Yeah.
Does Ganga go slow? No. But why is she called Mandakini? Actually, she goes very slow. When she comes on top of Mount Himalayas, that's where Lord Shiva is. And then when she comes down to the Gangetic plain, at that time she is coming in full force. But if you look at how she originally enters into the universe, Vamanadev, when he scales the upper planetary system, he pierces. He makes a hole through which she enters from spiritual world. But when she comes very, very slow. So slow that in higher planetary system, her name is Mandakini. So you can't go to Ganga here, in Bengal here and say Mandakini. She'll be like, she'll get upset. I'm coming so fast, you are calling me Mandakini. She's known by name Mandakini there because she moves very slow. Okay, Mandakini is Mother Ganga, but in higher planetary system, she comes very slow. Now, coming to our glorious qualities. Manda means what? Lethargic, very lazy. Okay, morning I was giving one example, Have you got this experience, even as a student or even as a parent? You have so much to do. You have to cook, you have to teach something to your kids, you have to do about your life, your work, you have to wash, you have to clean, so many things. And you have so many things to do, you don't know where to start. Guess what you do? You just go to bed and sleep. How many of you, be honest, how many of you have done this? I have done this. So much assignment, it has to be submitted tomorrow, I have to study for exam. No, I'm sleeping. We do. How is this going to help? It's going to only aggravate the problem. But we like to cheat ourselves. Manda. Sumanda. Meda means what? Intelligent. Sumeda means? Super intelligent. Su means super in Sanskrit. Manda means what? Lethargic. Sumanda means what? Super lethargic. Vyasadeva, that's why as if Manda is not enough, he says Manda Sumanda. He is saying Mataya Manda Bhagya. Again, Bhagya means being fortunate. Yeah. Okay, Manda Bhagya means less fortunate or totally unfortunate. Prabhupada, in that regard, he gives example from Aesop's fables in one class. Prabhupada says there was one old lady who was carrying a big pack of wood. Okay, she was like carrying, and at one point she trips and she drops it. Oh my God! And then Supreme Lord comes down. Yes, what can I do for you? And then Prabhupada says, she asked him, can you please pick it up and put on my head? And Prabhupada says, if this is Supreme Lord, you could have asked him directly wealth. You could have told him, please take me back. So Prabhupada gives this fable as an example to say, this is Mandabhagya. We have the best thing, but we don't know how to use it. Mandabhagya hi upadritaha. Upadritaha means always disturbed. All the time disturbed. Okay. So this is the situation where we are in. So if you feel lethargic, if you feel lazy, if you feel uninspired, welcome to the club. There isn't much we can do about. Understand this is the field in which we are born, our kids are born, our parents were born, and this is where we have to make our life a bit more inspiring, bit more interesting for us. Introducing Srimad Bhagavatam. So when he foresaw the influence, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, at that time, Vedavyasa thought, I need to do something for these people. But then he realized the body of knowledge, Vedas, they are complex, very complex. Who is the original author of the Vedas? Vedavyasa only compiled. But who?
Krishna.
Is it? Okay, who gave to Brahma?
Narada.
Brahma gave it to Narada. But who gave it to Brahma? Okay, Narayana, Krishna. But if you see, how did Krishna sit and write? No, it's given Yasyaika Nishvashitam Vedaha. Veda is just the breath of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so when Garuda comes and it flaps its wings, one can hear sound vibration. When Supreme Lord was there in Yoga Nidra, he simply was breathing. That breath was Vedas. It's given. Even Krishna didn't write. It is simply the breath of Krishna. Understand? Even when Krishna blowed the flute, breath of Krishna. Understand? But Narayana, it's given when he's in Yoga Nidra, when he breathed out, that is Vedas. Okay, so the original one comes directly from the Supreme Lord himself, which were given to humanity by Brahma, and then Narada in turn gives it to Vyasa. Until Vyasa's time, it was simply, this is the original cloud computing, no script that was written. Total soft copy only. So Guru will actually memorize something, give it to the disciple in turn will memorize it, gives it. That's why following brahmacharya, following a certain lifestyle when someone is a student is very important in those days. Okay, there is no internet, there is no hard storage anywhere. The only way how you can remember something is by memorizing it. But in order to memorize, you need to be in a proper state of mind, correct? Sometimes we talk to someone, could be our partners, could be our friends, you say like, can you repeat it? What do you think I was doing all along? We get upset when somebody don't hear properly. Because mindset is very disturbed. But in those days, that's the focus. If somebody is a student, they'll follow brahmacharya, strictly celibacy, and they'll simply focus on understanding the knowledge. It takes that much effort, which Vedavyasa was not very hopeful about us. So Vedavyasa thought, I have this one whole big body of knowledge, let me divide it. So then he collected all yellow stones separate, green stones separate, blue stones separate, white stones separate, everything. And then he entrusted each one of those body of knowledge as separate Vedas to 4 of his disciples. Okay, so then he took Rig Veda, gave it to one of his disciples. That disciple is known as Paila Rishi. He gives it to him. Yajur Veda to Vaishampayana. Okay, if you read Vishnu Sahasranam, you will come across Vaishampayana Vacha, that Vaishampayana. Rig Yajur Sama, he gave it to Jaimini Rishi. Atharva Veda, he gave it to Angira Muni. So 4 disciples, he delegated it and told them, you master this Vedas, you teach to your disciples and you propagate. So that by the time Kali Yuga comes, at least people who are interested in one branch, they will learn it here. Another branch, they can learn here. This way, he thought, this way I can mass distribute the knowledge. This is what he did. After having done this, he thought, these people, for them to really study the philosophy is difficult. Let me give the same knowledge in the form of Puranas. So he went for case studies, documenting all of them. He wrote 17 such Puranas. Okay, Vishnu Puran, Vamana Puran, Kurma Puran, Padma Puran, so on, Shiva Puran. Everything was written by Vedavyas only. 17 Puranas he writes. So he has already given the Vedas, 17 Puranas he writes. He also writes Mahabharata. Mahabharata has got 200,000 verses, 2 lakh verses. Bhagavata Purana in its entirety, it has 18,000 verses. Bhagavad Gita, how many? 700. About 700. Okay. But Mahabharata alone is 2 lakh verses. So then reason why he wrote Mahabharata was he thought at least people with a little philosophical inclination, they would get either Vedic knowledge or Puranic knowledge. But most of the people won't be like that. Most of the people will have the Shudra tendency in Kali Yuga. So let me write the same essence of knowledge, document that as Mahabharata in the form of a Itihasa, then he wrote that as fifth Veda. Okay, so Itihasas and Puranas together, they are known as the fifth Veda according to Bhagavata Purana. Whatever I'm telling you, it's right here in Bhagavatam. I'm just repeating one chapter of Bhagavatam here. Fourth chapter, first canto. Okay, so after writing all this, he then entrusted the Itihasas and Puranas, which is the fifth Veda, to Romaharshana, Rishi. So 5 disciples he had already given everything. Puranas and Itihasa. Only difference between Purana and Itihasa is Itihasas are written in a chronological fashion. Okay, it will be in a linear timeline. Whereas Puranas, if you take, they are thematic. So it's not like because one avatar comes in first canto, another avatar comes in second canto, doesn't make the avatar in first canto came earlier. It's not like that. This is totally based on thematic. This one doesn't follow timeline. Puranas don't follow timeline. Itihasas, Ramayana is written in linear fashion. Starts from Valmiki, then Dashrath Maharaj, then Lord Ram, then Lavkush, it goes on like that. Likewise, you take Mahabharata, it starts from Bharat Maharaj. Then you'll come across Vichitra Virya, Bhishma, and then it talks about Pandavas, then Kurukshetra war, after Kurukshetra war, Parishit Maharaj, after Parishit Maharaj, Janamejaya, his son, whole thing is there but in linear fashion. Understand? So Mahabharata, it's written in linear fashion based on timeline. Puranas are not. That's the difference between Itihasa and Purana. So after entrusting Puranas also to everyone, Veda Vyasa is very disturbed. Imagine if I give a class and I feel sleepy. What do you think my observation about, or what do you think my expectation about my audience? They'll also be sleepy. Okay, if I feel sleepy. Veda Vyasa's position was like that. He wrote everything for who? For us. But after writing everything, he himself was feeling down. He has already written 4 Vedas. He has already written 17 Puranas. He has already written Mahabharata. Still was feeling down and he feels I'm okay, but there's some uneasy feeling I'm having. That means he wasn't convinced what he has produced so far is going to deliver people in Kali Yuga. When he was feeling like this, introducing Narada Muni comes, who is his guru. And then he tells him that you have done everything fantastic, but there's 2 flaws in your work. Flaw doesn't mean it's a wrong, if something was wrong was done. Flaws is more like deficiency, so to speak. Okay, deficiency means it's there, but it's not in the right amount. And then he says 2 deficiencies. One deficiency is you have glorified about Krishna and all of them, but not to the fullest extent. Okay, you have spoken so many avatars, so many other things. You have spoken about Krishna, but you haven't spoken Krishna in his full glory. To your heart's content, you haven't expressed that. Insufficient glorification of Krishna. He says that as the one defect. Second defect he says is, normally when people follow Karma Kanda section, there are 4 stages that's given. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Dharma means you study what the religious principles are and then you lead your life based on that. Artha means based on those principles that you have learned, you have studied, you then go and make money, increase your prosperity. Then when the economic development is there, then with that you'll be able to enjoy. If you take modern times, how do people measure success? Why is Elon Musk being glorified? Because he has a lot of money. If someone has a lot of money, what do people naturally conclude? Which means he's enjoying more. And then that makes them to conclude, that means he has a very perfect life. So Prabhupada says, in modern times, somebody's success and failure is depending on how nicely they are enjoying their senses. Does that make sense? That's how we do. Whereas somebody may be leading a very simple life, but then we call him a failure or we call her a failure. Why? Or they don't have money, which means they are not enjoying their senses. You understand? The KPI with which you gauge somebody's success or failure is based on material sense enjoyment only. Understand? So Dharma, Artha, then third is Kama, how you are enjoying your senses. And finally, after you get a little fed up with enjoying all the senses, you think like I've tried everything, been there, done that, it's not helping me much. Then you will think about, okay, what is moksha? It's a very slow step and there is no guarantee in this path because one may die by the time they come to the fag end of their life. then how can they actually guarantee that they will attain success in spiritual world, or going to spiritual world rather? So Narada Muni points out at these two deficiencies: insufficient glorification of Krishna, and second, overemphasis on these four purusharthas, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. I have read Garuda Puran, Vishnu Puran, Padma Puran, and I have read Bhagavata Puran also. When you read those Puranas, you will actually understand. I'm not telling you spend your time, waste your time reading it. Don't ask me why I read it. I read it, just accept it. I'm not recommending. But point here is, if you read all of them, you will see it tells you so many things. So many things about life, so many things about how you should make money, how you should make a friendship, how you should take care of your body. So many things it talks.
Which one?
All the other Puranas, 17 Puranas, even Vishnu Purana, Padma Purana, Garuda Purana, they speak in detail about all of them. But if you come to Bhagavata Puran, it speaks about Krishna and Krishna only, nothing else. It speaks about spiritual topics only, nothing else. That doesn't mean Bhagavata Purana neglects, taking care of one's body. Bhagavata Purana itself says you should pray to Krishna for good health. Even though it looks material, Bhagavata Purana says that is spiritual. You need to take care, because priority should always be first is health, which means if your health is bad, don't come to the class. If your health is bad, don't worry about chanting. Take a Panadol and sleep first. That's the first priority, even according to Shastra. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself has actually said that. Okay, so first priority is health. Second, once your health is good, then you do your sadhana, spiritual sadhana. When you do all of this properly, then go to hall program, come to temple for subjugating, do other services, give classes, do other services. But if your sadhana isn't there, you cannot actually do service. How long can you sustain like that? You cannot do. Understand? So, Bhagavata Puran does speak about work-life balance. Bhagavata Puran does speak about balancing even different aspects of spiritual life. But Bhagavata Puran does all of that in line with Krishna Bhakti. Whereas other Puranas you read, you can easily get distracted. That's why I'm saying it's not a recommended path. If you are keen, you can read, no problem. After you finish reading this. I finished reading this 3 times before touching anything else. Okay, so point I'm saying is that Vyasadeva was actually pointed out these 2 defects. What are the 2 defects? Insufficient glorification of Krishna, over glorification of 4 purusharthas, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So Narada Muni tells to Veda Vyasa, look, you yourself are Sakti Avash, avatar of the Supreme Lord. You know about Supreme Lord more than any one of us. Which means in your meditation and trance, you can see the glories of the Lord. You can deliberate on the glories of the Lord. That you propagate to people. And that way you will be satisfied. And because the work, you are the first candidate of your own work. You yourself will be satisfied. Then you can be guaranteed that whoever reads this book will be happy. So Vyasadeva wrote this as his concluding work. After this, Vyasadeva didn't write anything. Okay, so that's the first point we need to understand. If somebody had done so many things, Sachin Tendulkar keeps on playing 4 World Cups. 5th World Cup, he wins the World Cup. And you ask him, what is the best match in your life? What do you think he's going to say? The moment when I win the World Cup only. You understand? Always you reserve the best for the last. And this came out of Vyasadev's own frustration of all his work. Okay, so there is nothing better than this. Vyasadeva hasn't given anything more than this. Imagine if I'm told, this is your final class. Whatever I say this, I was always wanting to say, I will say now. Correct? Most important things I'll say now. Same way, Vyasadeva, when he wrote this after writing Upanishads, Puranas, Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, that also he had written. Finally, he comes to this, which means there is nothing beyond this, which means he had given the essence of all of his previous work in this one single Purana. Okay, so that's the background. Now coming to the first question which I throw, the mental block. Oh, if I have this book, I won't read. I specifically brought this book. This is just one single excerpt, one single tiny section of Skanda Puran. Okay, of all the 18 Puranas, Skanda Puran is the biggest. Okay. And there is one section in Skanda Puran which glorifies Bhagavatam. And I'm going to read something specifically for all of us about keeping the Bhagavatam book in home even without reading an opening. I came with this so you won't give any more excuse. Okay. Okay, listen to this carefully. This is Supreme Lord is telling to Lord Brahma all of this series of quotes. Okay, this is in Padma Puran. In this age of Kali, I become very pleased with those who regularly worship Srimad Bhagavatam in their house and dance without fear. Simply keeping only. He is not talking about reading. He is not talking about opening. Simply those who worship Srimad Bhagavatam without fear. My dear son, Vishnu is saying this to Brahma. Okay, my dear son, as long as Srimad Bhagavatam is present in one's house, for that long his forefathers consume milk, ghee, honey and water. Which means you don't even need to do Pindadana. If you can, do it. If you can't, it's taken care already. One who with devotion gives the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to a Vaishnava resides in my abode for millions of kalpas. One who always worships Srimad Bhagavatam in his house satisfies the demigods for the duration of one kalpa. One kalpa means one whole day of Brahma, which is 1000 times Chaturyuga. One Chaturyuga is 4 million years. 1000 Chaturyuga is 4 billion years. Okay, so it's given one who gives one set. So if you donate one set, that is equal to 1 billion years. In Vishnu Loka, you can reside. That's what it means according to this. If even a half or a quarter of a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is kept in one's house, that is glorious. For what is the need of accumulating thousands of other literatures? In Kali Yuga, one who does not keep Srimad Bhagavatam in his house can never be delivered from the control of Yamaraj. In Kali Yuga, how can one be considered a Vaishnava who does not keep Srimad Bhagavatam in his house? He is more abominable than a Chandala. My dear son, Lord of the universe, for my pleasure and the pleasure of the Vaishnavas, one should keep Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion. In Kali Yuga, wherever the auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam is recited, I reside along with all our demigods. You see, there are like a dozen quotes which speaks about only keeping. Now you tell me, why am I reading all this? So at least keep it in your home. Okay, if you can't read, no problem. Just keep it. Your kids will read sometime. Okay, grandkids will read sometime. You know, if you have a book in your bookshelf, you look at it. They will also look at you, correct? At some point of time, you will be so bored, like, no, I have nothing to do. What is this sitting here? You will start to read. But once you read, you won't put it down. So when I brought this set home, my narration is like Pulp Fiction, right? Going back and forth, back and forth. When I brought this set home, my roommate scared me. Then I thought I'll start to read. It was difficult. To read all of them once, first time, it took me more than 7 years.
Is it easy to comprehend? Is it?
First time will be difficult. Once you go past it, then there is one lecture I actually give on Saturdays. Prabhu can actually share that. I discuss only summary. I try to cover one chapter every week, just the summary. There is even a book called Bhagavata Subodhini that gives the whole summary. So if you know the flow, it becomes very easy. The biggest challenge with the Bhagavatam is you will not understand the context. Every verse you open, purport will almost look the same. You don't know who said this, why did they say. So normally before, if I give the class on a particular verse, I set the context first. This is what started at that time. Because of that, other person asked this, and you set the context, then you go forward. It's easy. So it's easy to comprehend if you just follow the structure. It's not hard, but first time will be difficult. I should want, but just the first time. So first time it took me almost 7 years. Second time it took me 3 years. Third time 2 years. After that I have read 2 more times. It took me only 1 year each. I have read this 5 times. I am in the 6th cycle now. I am not saying this to brag. I am telling this, it's possible. Okay, so once you get into the habit, trust me, you will understand that you have got a very, very valuable wealth, and you won't want to part away from. But first gear is difficult always, as with anything. One saying of Mahatma Gandhi I like, everything is difficult before it becomes easy. Correct? For a little child, even walking. But what makes the child glorious is the child will never feel shy. Correct? There may be so many people, it will sit and urinate, it will walk, fall down, but then pick and then walk again. Again fumble, again get up and go. It was difficult at one point. And now the child will walk backwards. Have you seen? Once they learn, you tell them don't do this, they'll do that. Same when we learn to drive bicycle. Okay, look straight, hold your body straight, pedal, and then after that what? Without hands free, talk here with the headphone, you yourself go as second person in your vehicle. So many things people do. Except following the rule, everyone would like to break the rule that way. Okay, everything is difficult before it becomes easy. So you start reading it, even if you can't finish it, what's the harm? If you open and read even little bit, what's the harm? You may not read everything. Let us say today is Ram Navami. Okay, let me just open and read little bit about Lord Ram. Close, put it.
So there are chapters like what?
Yeah, there are chapters.
Like Ramas and...
Ninth canto, it's there. So you can go directly to Lord Ram's and you can read. Or today's Janmashtami, just open and read one chapter about Krishna Janmashtami. It's right there. Today is Vamana Dwadashi, just open and read Vamana Dev. Today is Narsingha Chaturdasi, read Narsingha Dev. ISKCON, all festivals are covered in the book. Diwali, Govardhan Puja, you name it. It's there. So you can read little bit. Slowly. But trust me, once you get hooked into it, it's very hard to part. Okay, like Lord Ram. 4 yugas are there. When did Lord Ram appear? Treta. When was Treta? We are in Kali Yuga. Where? Dwapara Treta, that's what we think. But actually Lord Ram came 4 Chaturyugas before Treta. Which means Satya Treta Dwapara Kali, Satya Treta Dwapara Kali, Satya Treta Dwapara Kali, Satya Treta Dwapara, we are in that Kali Yuga. 4 cycles have gone. South India, how many of you have been to Balaji temple? Heard about it? Yes. Balaji. He came in previous Kali Yuga. Balaji has seen one full cycle. One Chatur Yuga he has seen. Even if you walk, I've seen you in last Kali Yuga, you're still here. So Balaji knows everything. Likewise, Lord Ram, he came 4 Chaturyugas before. One Chaturyuga is roughly 4.32 million years. 4 Chaturyuga means that makes it 16 million years. Lord Ram came at least 16 million years ago. The place where he came is still called by the same name as Ayodhya at least for 16 million years. That's how ancient. Now when you read something like this, you can relate to, you understand. You'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't know about this. There are many things we learned, but without knowing. Courtesy B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata. Or Ramananda Sagar's Krishna serial. Something like that. Or Little Krishna.
Live up to 16 million.
Yes. So we have heard little bit here, there, something we have heard. But when you read the Shastra, now you know this is an authentic source, and when you read it, your faith gets re-emphasized. And when something is said in the Shastra, something which our parents have taught us a lot of things. Like good habits, we do pranam. Why we do pranam, we don't know, but we just do pranam. But you read scriptures say, inside our body we are soul, but inside us there's Paramatma also. So when you say Namaste, Namaskar, Hare Krishna, you are actually offering pranam to the Paramatma inside the other person. Understand? So you are seeing God in the other person and you are greeting. Vedic culture is so elevated that even if you walk on a plant, grass, you take permission because there is Paramatma inside that also. They ask permission. Okay, so it's a very, very holistic lifestyle, very conscious lifestyle. This is how everyone had actually led their lives. But when we don't have that knowledge, we are Manda Sumanda Matya. But when we have that knowledge, then that knowledge will make us fully aware of what's happening around us, including what is happening in our lives. Okay, so the knowledge is wealth, knowledge is liberating. So it's very, very important. That comes to the concluding part of this class. I said that just to make you awake. Stay awake, just bear with me. 10 minutes we'll finish. Okay. Seriously, this is the last part. What we are going to do is, there is a second chapter in this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Usually when we welcome Srimad Bhagavatam in our home, we read the second chapter. Okay, we'll